When you think of Antarctica, what comes to mind? An endless expanse of ice and snow, right? A frozen desert where only the toughest creatures can survive. But what if I told you that this icy continent was once a lush, green, tropical paradise? It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but compelling evidence suggests that millions of years ago, Antarctica was a vibrant jungle teeming with life. And some even whisper about a secret map that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about this mysterious land. Let's start with what we know for sure. Today, Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and highest continent on Earth. It holds about 90% of the world's ice and 70% of its fresh water. Temperatures can plummet to unimaginable lows, making it one of the most inhospitable places on the planet. But it wasn't always this way. To understand how Antarctica transformed from a jungle to an icehouse, we need to travel back in time, way back, to the age of the dinosaurs. During the Cretaceous period, about 90 million years ago, the world was a much warmer place. Global average temperatures were significantly higher than they are today, and there were no permanent ice sheets at either pole. At that time, Antarctica was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, connected to Australia and South America. Its location was much further north than it is today, putting it in a more temperate climate zone. So, what's the proof? Well, scientists have been drilling deep into the sediment beneath the ice and the seafloor around Antarctica, and what they've found is astonishing. In 2020, a team of researchers from Germany and the UK announced a groundbreaking discovery. They had extracted a sediment core from the seabed of the Amundsen Sea, near the Pine Island Glacier in West Antarctica, buried nearly 30 meters below the seafloor. They found something incredible: preserved ancient forest soil. This wasn't just any soil. It contained a dense network of fossilized plant roots, pollen, and spores. Analysis of this material painted a vivid picture of a temperate, swampy rainforest. The pollen and spores belonged to plants we'd expect to find in a warm climate, including various conifers and ferns. The team estimated that during this period, the annual mean temperature in this part of Antarctica was around 12 to 13 degrees Celsius. To put that in perspective, that's similar to the climate of modern-day Tasmania or New Zealand. The summer temperatures likely reached around 19 degrees Celsius. Can you imagine that? Sunbathing on the shores of Antarctica. This rainforest existed, even though Antarctica was experiencing a 4-month-long polar night each year. The plants that lived there must have been adapted to long periods of darkness, something scientists are still trying to fully understand. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was also much higher back then, which helped trap heat and keep the planet warm, preventing ice from forming at the poles. But the evidence doesn't stop there. For decades, paleontologists have been unearthing fossils all over the continent. They've found fossilized leaves, wood, and even entire tree stumps. On Seymour Island, off the coast of the Antarctic Peninsula, scientists have found fossils of amphibians, reptiles, and even marsupials. They've also found fossils of dinosaurs. Yes, dinosaurs roamed the forest of Antarctica. Species like the herbivorous Antarctopelta and the carnivorous Cryolophosaurus, nicknamed the frozen crested lizard, once called this continent home. So we have solid scientific evidence of a green Antarctica. But what about this secret map I mentioned? This is where the story takes a turn from scientific fact into the realm of historical mystery and conspiracy. The map in question is the famous Piri-Reis map. Created in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri-Reis, this map is a stunning piece of history. It's drawn on gazelle skin and compiles information from about 20 different source maps, some of which were said to date back to the time of Alexander the Great. What makes the Piri-Reis map so controversial is what it appears to show. Among its many detailed coastlines of Europe, North Africa, and Brazil, there is a landmass at the very bottom that some interpreters claim is the coast of Antarctica. Here's the kicker. The map seems to depict this landmass not as it is today, covered in a thick ice sheet, but as a coastline free of ice. This has led to some wild theories. How could a 16th century cartographer have known what the coast of Antarctica looked like without its ice? Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until the 1820s, and its subglacial coastline wasn't mapped until the 20th century. Using modern ground-penetrating radar, proponents of the theory like Charles Hapgood in his 1966 book Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings argue that the Piri-Reis map must be a copy of much older source maps created by a forgotten, highly advanced ancient civilization that explored the globe long before recorded history. This civilization, Hapgood theorized, would have mapped Antarctica when it was ice-free, thousands of years ago. It's an incredibly tantalizing idea. A lost civilization with advanced technology, charting the world and leaving behind clues in ancient maps. It connects to legends of Atlantis and other lost worlds. However, mainstream historians and cartographers have a much more down-to-earth explanation. First, They point out that the landmass on the Piri-Reis map doesn't really match the true shape of Antarctica's coast. Many scholars believe it's actually a distorted representation of the southern tip of South America, perhaps bent eastward to fit on the parchment. It was common for cartographers of that era to fill in unknown areas with imaginative landmasses. The notes on the map itself even mention that the region is hot and full of large snakes, which doesn't exactly sound like Antarctica, even a prehistoric one. Furthermore, the idea of an ice-free Antarctica in the time frame of human civilization is a major problem. The last time Antarctica was substantially ice-free was millions of years ago. Long before humans existed, the Antarctic ice sheet began to form around 34 million years ago and reached its current massive size much more recently. For Hapgood's theory to be true, a massive portion of the Antarctic ice would have had to melt and then refreeze in just the last few thousand years, an event for which there is absolutely no geological evidence. So, while the Piri-Reis map is a fascinating historical artifact, the claim that it's a secret map of an ice-free Antarctica is almost certainly false. It's a classic case of wishful thinking, of seeing a pattern that fits a romantic theory while ignoring the more plausible explanations. But let's not let that take away from the truly amazing reality. The scientific discovery that Antarctica was once a temperate rainforest is, in my opinion, far more incredible than any conspiracy theory. It shows us just how dynamic and changeable our planet is. The world we see today is just a snapshot in a very, very long movie. Continents drift, climates shift, and entire ecosystems appear and disappear over geological time. The transition from a green, forested Antarctica to the frozen continent we know today was driven by two major factors. First, the continent drifted south, moving into its current polar position. Second, and more importantly, global CO2 levels began to drop. As Antarctica became isolated from other continents by ocean currents, and as greenhouse gas concentrations fell, the planet cooled. Around 34 million years ago, a critical threshold was crossed, and the great ice sheets began to form, burying the ancient rainforest under kilometers of ice. These discoveries are not just about understanding the past. They are also a crucial warning for our future. The same factor that plunged Antarctica into an ice age, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, is what we are now changing at an unprecedented rate. By studying Antarctica's warm past, scientists can better understand the tipping points in our climate system. It shows us how sensitive the polar regions are to changes in greenhouse gases. The past is the key to the present and the future. The story of Antarctica's lost rainforest is a stark reminder that the Earth's climate can and does undergo dramatic shifts. So, while there may not be a secret pirate map pointing to a lost Atlantean outpost at the South Pole, there is a much realer, scientifically proven story that is just as mind-blowing. A story of a lost world, buried under the ice, waiting to be rediscovered. A world of dinosaurs, lush forests, and warm swamps at the bottom of the Earth. And every new ice core we drill, and every new fossil we find, adds another piece to the puzzle of ancient Antarctica. What other secrets does the ice still hold? We'll have to wait and see. Thanks for watching. What do you think is the most amazing fact about Antarctica's past? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey back in time, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more answers to life's biggest questions. See you next time.